Money Church, Monday Money Church. Feed your spirit, see how economics work. Learn the keys to wealth so we can break this curse. And raise your frequency and we can heal the hurt. Just read a verse at Money Church.
Peace, family, and welcome back to another episode of the Money Church Monday podcast. I am your host, Jay Morrison, and I'm missing my blessed co-host, Brian C. Dean, who's away recharging on a family trip. So it won't be the same without him tonight, but I'm gonna do my best to kind of hold it down, right? And so I figured I'd at least start off with my cool shades on. Might at least give me some swag points as we get into this Money Church. Money Church is the spirituality of business, how to live rich in real life. And it's honestly been very recharging and energizing for me every single week. This has been like my entrepreneur church, right? It's meant to be a spiritual uplift for entrepreneurs, and not so much based around our particular religious practices or principles, but around universal spiritual principles, right? And so we want to welcome you guys in. Again, it's non-religious, it's non-denominational. This is about universal spiritual frequency to live rich, meaning not rich just in money and revenue, but also in currency, energy, frequency, living lives at the highest level, right? So I want to tap in. I'm going to start this Money Church episode. Last week, Bishop went into 5 pillars, on his way to 6 pillars of how to generate revenue, answering the question that if you were broke and you lost everything, right, lost all your assets, what would you be worth? And he talked about some different levels of worth and revenue that I want to tackle today. I want to stick on one in just a second, but the 5 areas in recap, and he's going to cover the 6th when he comes back next week, next episode, is 1, the 5 area of revenues are wisdom, right? Being wisdom rich, and how wisdom has its own equity, its own valuation, just being wise in how you make choices. Wisdom is knowing when and how to use knowledge and information, right? Sometimes we're book smart, we got the information, but we don't know when to strategically apply it. We don't know whom to apply it with, when to pull it out, right? When to shut up and just listen. Wisdom is all those things, and it produces its own revenue, especially for us as entrepreneurs. Vision. This is one I want to kind of focus on a little bit tonight as one of our revenue sources, which is your ability to see and see ahead and to inspire as you see ahead. We have here on our board at the Black House, be the CEO of your last name. Everybody write this down. The CEO is the leader and the visionary for a family, not just the leader, but in order to lead, you must have a desired destination. It must be somewhere that you see that the family can go, somewhere likely the family has never even seen that it can go before, right? And so whether it be for your last name, whether it be for your organization, whether it be for your LLC, your corporation, your S-Corp, having vision is going to be one of the most critical parts of you leading, trend-setting, innovating, and making your way into legacy building in this world. Another source of revenue is information or knowledge, right? Being information and knowledge rich. I was explaining to my brother and a couple others over the weekend about my rise from realtor to real estate fund manager, and how I've been able to do so many things in what we call the hierarchy of real estate, THOR, T-H-O-R, the hierarchy of real estate, from being a loan officer, being a realtor, all the way to being a landlord, to being a house flipper, to being a wholesaler, to being a developer, being a commercial real estate owner, being a private lender, being a tax lien buyer, being a note buyer, right? All these different things that I've been able to participate because of a strong information and knowledge base has allowed me to diversify my opportunities just because of my revenue and information. A good name and reputation being another revenue source that we can tap into. Remember, answering the question for us, what would you be worth if you lost everything today? So what would you be worth in wisdom? What would you be worth in vision? What would you be worth in knowledge, information? And what would you be worth in reputation, right? Based on your name. Based on the strength of your name, I know back in the streets, based on the strength of your name, you could lose everything and go back and get a whole nother thing from it. You could lose everything and go back and have somebody hit you off with some cash because they know you're good for it because of the character of who you are, who you stand to be, and you consistently show up to be. right? So you can consistently cash out just on your name, even if you lost everything, right? Think about someone like Jay-Z, who's been successful as an entrepreneur. God forbid Jay-Z lost everything. How many folks could Jay-Z reach out to say, hey, put me on, or put me back in the game, or let me hold something till I get right? Or leverage his name for brand stake and equity into operations and other businesses, right? He literally could buy businesses without cash just off the strength of his name. There's many entrepreneurs that I get an opportunity to incubate, accelerate, and partner with just off the strength of my name, right? Without even having to worry about, you investing equity into the company. The equity they want is my knowledge, my wisdom, my information, or my name, right? And the credibility of my name. And then lastly, right, this is 5 out of 6 principles of revenue. We covered relationships, which is a super huge one. Again, my wife is a relationship trillionaire. She is like literally the person that can go in any room, Atlanta to LA, and be amongst the who's who and heavy hitters who will salute, bow down, do the little head bow, the nod, the handshake, all that, because of her reputation and how the reputation has led into relationships. So what I want to talk about tonight, so we were going to cancel this podcast episode today, but I wanted to be consistent, and I didn't want to do it without Bishop Dean, because he and I ping pong so well together, synergize so well together. I was off at the border in Texas, in Del Rio, fighting for human rights for our Haitian brothers and sisters, and we could not connect to pre-record this episode as we were looking to go into this week, and he was going on vacation. But because of my vision to be able to be consistent in MoneyChurch, to be consistent in this podcast space, and to begin to gain some momentum there, I want to at least do it anyway and get my best shot solo dolo, right, by myself and one man bandit, although it's much better with my partner. So vision has been one of the key ingredients, and I saw it last night. If anybody watched the BMF screening, right, a Black Mafia Family produced by 50 Cent. One of my brothers, Da Vinci, is one of the co-stars actually of that series. And thinking about BMF, although they represented something I guess we would call negative to our culture, right? They were drug dealing, they were trapping, right? They were one of the biggest drug organizations in the country. Less about that particular industry, but more about, I was looking at Big Meech, who's a notable leader of the organization, and how his brother Terry was his partner, but Meech was the visionary. He was always thinking about like what's around the corner and what's next. And it's very lonely out here for visionaries. So many times you got to think about, for instance, when everyone on Instagram in 2014, 2015 was just figuring out how to get likes and followers, I was saying, well, what if all my followers, if I had a real estate project, could all invest together and take down an asset together? What does that look like? I asked that question to my attorney in 2015. Actually, I did an Instagram post in 2015 that said, hey, I was looking at properties in Ohio. And so I got a few projects in Ohio. Who here would like to invest with me? Minimum $10,000 investment, DM me. And I got like 80 messages immediately. Then I did an email blast, got multiple emails. And my attorney was like, no. You're breaking blue sky laws. Chill out, fam. And my attorney put me on game about how you're supposed to raise capital from a public setting. And that planted the seed to what a year later became the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, and 2 years later became our non-traditional IPO or offering of our interest in our private company. So saying that to say, vision led me on a 3+ year, now 6-year journey into becoming a fund manager and a fund manager of the historic Tulsa Real Estate Fund, the first Black-owned real estate crowd fund in American history. All by seeing something that no one's seen yet. The thing with vision is a lot of times we want to see somebody go through the door first, and then we cool with duplicating that effort. We want you to take the arrows, the darts, the daggers to figure it out, which there's wisdom in that, right? Remember, wisdom has revenue too. There's wisdom sometimes in not being the forefronter or the pioneer or the trailblazer. But for me, I take a lot of pride in seeing what everyone doesn't see, seeing around the corner, seeing where solutions lie, especially solutions and opportunities lie to grow and solve big problems. And so on our entrepreneur journey, I saw the same thing when I was leaving the streets and I was getting into real estate as a realtor. And becoming a realtor, that was a new vision for everybody in my hood, in my neighborhood, right? Like just being in real estate in general. But I saw that vision, I persisted in that vision. And God even talks about in the Bible to write things down and make them plain. And that has been probably one of my most favorite Bible verse, honestly, is because it's been my gift, the ability to not only write my own visions down and make them plain for my team, my partners and staff to execute, but writing down a vision when I teach and making it plain and translating complicated subjects in a simple way that we can understand it. But for all of us who are CEOs, I want to encourage you on some practical principles today. One is, whatever your vision is for you, you have to be confident enough in the vision, even if no one else buys in, can see it, can believe it, or co-sign it. You got to be able to hawk your vision down, right? Write it down, make it plain, and then walk it down, right? I want to write that down. You either write your vision down, make it plain, and then you walk it down. You outwork the work. You outwork those circumstances. One of the formulas I gave for outwork the work, which speaks to how to execute big visions, is called BBBP. It speaks to having a burning desire, having big, bodacious goals, right? That's the vision, the big, bodacious goals, being intentional about those goals, and then the P, persisting, doing it consistently. And so as you guys go on your legacy track, your entrepreneurial track, figure out the spirituality of business. One spiritual principle in business, one thing you see in all spirituality through prophets and all others, is their ability to see into the future. That's what a visionary is. That's why creating is so close to godliness. When you're a creator, when you can come out your head with a dream, with a thought, be inspired by something, and poof, that thing then becomes life. You become a manifest king or queen, which is why I tell my wife, my family, my staff, my team, let's be careful about the words that we manifest and the words that we say, because we literally, our thoughts become words and our words become things. So a lot of times we talk about how we're, oh man, that's crazy. Oh, you did this many millions, that's crazy. Oh, you got that car, that's crazy. Oh, you live in this life, that's crazy. It's not crazy. It's amazing. Let's stop manifesting crazy into our life. Then when you're rich and you're losing it all, you're depressed and you can't figure it all out, you got mental illness and you've talked crazy on yourself, you've manifested crazy in yourself, you wonder why. It's time as visionaries we be very careful with everything that we impart into the vision, every seed that we sow into the vision. The words are our seeds. No different than it be the corner class, the Jay-Morrison-Academy, being an author. When you are an author, see, vision is so important because we talked about the currency of faith. And so if you have the currency of faith, you need faith is about things that you have not seen and the evidence of those things. So as visionaries, we're literally betting on, buying on, and investing in and counting on the things that we never seen that we know will be life. As simple as throwing a party, hosting an event, doing a workshop, throwing a conference. You say, you know what? I got an idea. I want to do a conference for my brand. I have an idea. I want to do a Day with Jay boot camp. I have an idea. I want to do a corner class tour. I have an idea that I want to be a videographer. Whatever your idea is, again, that is your vision. And now as an entrepreneur, we have to back that vision with our, again, faith deposit, right? That faith, good faith deposit that we talked about in our previous podcast. So in all the currency, in all the revenue that we spoke of, and we got one more to cover, the 6 principles of revenue, spiritual revenue, vision is one of the most dear to me. And I think one of the, I think it's just something special about somebody's ability. And again, I was back to BMF. It was just special for somebody's ability to see past their circumstance. And I think as vision, in some visionaries, we look at like Elon Musk, we're talking about going to the moon. Is some visionaries have the ability to even see past like what's almost even fathomable for somebody to believe is accomplishable. And I think that is one of my biggest challenges to this podcast today is, are your goals big and bodacious enough? Is your vision large enough? Too many of us suffer from low goals. You set a simple goal like, yo, you know what? I just want to make $5,000 a month. I just want, now mind you can have milestones to your vision. You can have low goals, so to speak, as a milestone to a larger vision, but I challenge you to give yourself a much larger vision than what you've outlaid. For me, even a Tulsa real estate fund, that's only a milestone to a larger vision of $1 billion of assets under management, right? That was the original goal, is how can we manage $1 billion black dollars? And now we make that goal real life by implementing, executing, right? And then using the other revenue that we have of information, of relationship, of good name, of wisdom, and the sixth principle I don't even know yet that Bishop Dean has to teach us, right? So we're able to use those principles to be able to then contribute towards our vision development, right? And so that's one of the key things as an entrepreneur, though, is going to be our ability to be able to see what we can't see, which actually is kind of prophetic that I started with my shades on, because these are the sun blockers. But I believe it's very important that we see all angles around us. We see peripheral vision. We see through the hate. We see through the clouds. We see through our storms, right? You got to be able to see through your poverty. You got to see through your circumstance and still bank on a vision that you got for yourself and for your life. All right. So I just wanted to give you guys some short words tonight. Again, in staying consistent with my vision, because that's another part. A lot of us have visions and they're good visions, but we don't nurture the vision long enough. We're not consistent enough with the vision. So for me, it's not about this being our ultimate episode, but for me, it's about being a consistent episode. I'd rather show up than not show up. I'd rather give you some of me than give you none of me. I feel like the universe will reward my good effort and my good works by staying consistent with the vision that God gave me. And I believe that all visions are inspired by the higher power. A lot of times you get them out of your sleep, you get them in your dreams, you'll get them just through an inspiration. And then the best of us are intentional. Remember, be intentional, are intentional about executing the visions that God gave us. That's the challenge. It's not can you think of it, are you creative enough, but once you get it, are you willing to work through it through your circumstance and past your circumstance and do something special with it? So I just want to give you guys that word of motivation, of inspiration that I have and that I pursue. And I love just this opportunity of just manifesting things. I came to Atlanta in 2017, like, you know what, off a whim, like I'm gonna move down here and here's my goal to flip the culture and just watch that vision manifest. The Black House, we watched this Black House resurrect and watching phase 2 development happen. And you guys will see it in small flip properties. You guys will see it, I'm sure, in your businesses. Some of you guys are educators as well. Whatever you're doing, again, every little vision you should take pride in. Every little vision is you being a little mini God. It's the God in you. I put an Instagram post up. If the God in you can see the God in me, give me a prayer emoji, right? Because that's the God in us, our light that shines, one, based on our character, but also the God in us is doing what was so godly and is most godly. What God did was in the beginning, he had a vision and was the word. He made that word life and created this complicated thing called earth and human beings. Just how we exist, how our bodies and inner parts and organs move, how our kids are nursed, just how we have dominion over animals stronger than us. All that is just part of God's vision for us. And so, guys, I want to invite you to have a stronger vision for your family, for your last name, for your business. But understand that's the greatest gift you have. But the vision is only best celebrated once it's materialized and manifested through faith, through work, through persistence, through keeping a good reputation, through knowledge, through wisdom, through studying, right? Through those things and that endurance, tenacity, through those things, we're able to manifest some of the greatest inspirations, the greatest seeds that God has planted within our hearts, our spirits, and our minds. All right, so I just want to give you guys that word for today, Money Church, the spirituality of business. And we'll be back for our next podcast episode where we're going to talk about the 6th principle of spiritual revenue with my partner, Bishop or Overseer Brian C. Dean. I call him Bishop as a nickname. He's on his way to being a bishop right now. He's technically an overseer in his church. but he is a pastor for us online, a spiritual mentor, and an entrepreneur who has great wisdom of these principles that we all can utilize in real life. All right, guys, see you on the next episode. One love. Peace.